Howdy folks, I'm Ashlyn Anderson. Thanks for joining us for East Texas in Focus. Let's get started. Tonight we're focusing on the upcoming special legislative session. Governor Greg Abbott calling a special session early Monday, ordering state legislators back to the state capitol to tackle 6 bills. They're all pieces of legislation that he vetoed shortly before the deadline late Sunday. Abbott, who said the 30-day special session will begin July 21st, can still add items to the call list. In a press release, he described this list as initial. So far, it includes Senate Bill 648, relating to recording requirements for certain instruments concerning real property. Senate Bill 1253 relating to impact and production fees for certain water projects and to the regulation of certain wells, including authorizing a fee. Senate Bill 1278 relating to affirmative defense to prosecution for victims of trafficking of persons or compelling prostitution. There's also Senate Bill 1758, which relates to the operation of a cement kiln and the production of aggregates near a semiconductor wafer manufacturing facility. Senate Bill 2878, which touches on the operation and administration of and practices and procedures related to proceedings in the judicial branch of state government. And finally, among them is Senate Bill 3, which would have banned the sale of hemp products containing THC in Texas. While the hemp industry is celebrating the governor's veto of Senate Bill 3, their focus is now on shifting towards next month's special session. State Capitol correspondent Adam Schwager spoke with industry leaders about what they would like to see.
Looks like you're going to be back here in another few weeks, right?
Less than a day after his proposed ban on THC was vetoed by Governor Greg Abbott.
Thank you all for coming.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick indicated a refusal to back down.
I'm not going to legalize marijuana in Texas. And if people want to vote me out of office for that, so be it. Not going to do it.
Since then, Patrick's gotten bolder. In his veto, Abbott cited a ban in Arkansas, which at the time was held up in court. After the court ruled Arkansas can enforce their ban on Tuesday, Patrick reacted by saying, "All we have to do is pass SB 3. However, Abbott reaffirmed his position to regulate rather than prohibit consumable hemp, saying that process begins next month.
I'm watching Texas very closely.
Roger Wolodarski is the founder and CEO of Puffco, a company which makes high-tech products for consuming THC-infused concentrates.
If Texas is able to flip and offer safe access to users, that is a great omen for the future of cannabis in the federal world as well.
First glance, Wolodarski agrees with many of Abbott's proposed reforms, finding a balance between safety and freedom.
Lab testing, labeling, age-restricted access, the things that we're doing in all of the other states should be rolled out in Texas to make sure it's not getting in the hands of kids and the people who are using it are able to use safe product.
But he does not want to see the state shut down the ability to smoke THC products, a regulation currently found in the state's medical marijuana program.
You can't just eat an edible and then go on with your day. You're going to be affected by it for hours. But if you do inhale something, especially cannabis concentrates, you can get what you need from it, and it goes away within 45 minutes to an hour.
Lawmakers will come back to Austin on July 21st to discuss regulating THC. In Austin, I'm Adam Schwager.
Here at home, Rachel Davis spoke with East Texas smoke shop owners about what the governor's veto to SB 3 means for their business. She also has reaction from lawmakers.
I knew that doing the right thing, would be done.
Owner of CBD American Shaman in Tyler, Morris Anderson, says he's encouraged by the governor's veto of Senate Bill 3.
Governor Abbott is doing the right thing, and we definitely appreciate him.
Saying the decision is giving some comfort to customers who worried about a potential ban.
It's a relief, a weight lifted, because it's customers that come through here that are dealing with a lot.
Several East Texas lawmakers are supporting the governor's veto while also calling on regulations to protect Texans. Representative Jay Dean from Longview posted on social media saying, "I do support regulating the products. Regulation is acceptable, prohibition is not."
I think the goal is to find a way to deal with this that's going to go into effect, not be tied up in court.
State Senator Brian Hughes of Mineola says his goal going into the special session in July is safeguarding children from these products.
Our number one goal is to protect children, make sure children aren't getting access to these products.
Something Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick also said in a press conference Monday when he delivered a fiery response to the governor's late-night veto.
We're not Colorado, and we're not Oregon, and we're not Washington State. We're Texas. And I will not sign a bill that legalizes marijuana in Texas.
State Representative Daniel Alders from Tyler saying in part that he applauds the governor for calling a special session and is ready to get to work on legislation that will withstand any challenges in court.
I know my customers here appreciate them, and this world will appreciate it.
State Representative Joanne Schaffner from Nacogdoches adding that their goal will be to protect children, prevent addiction, support families, and preserve legitimate business operating within the law.
And that was Rachel Davis reporting. That's a good start. When we return with East Texas in Focus, we hear from a state senator about what to expect in this upcoming session and what he thinks the future holds for Senate Bill 3. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we're focusing on the upcoming special session. So far, Governor Greg Abbott has added 6 bills to the session. Only legislation that the governor adds to the list is allowed up for discussion. One of the bills many Texans will have their eyes on in a few weeks is Senate Bill 3, which calls for a total ban on any product containing THC, the chemical in marijuana that give people a high. After the bill's veto, we had the opportunity to hear from many lawmakers representing East Texas in the Texas Capitol, including State Senator Brian Hughes of Mineola. In a recent stop in Tyler, Hughes stood by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick as he defended Senate Bill 3. Some saw it as a tactic to pressure the governor to sign the bill. Hughes points to the expansion of the Texas Compassionate Use Program as a compromise and still believes some sort of ban is necessary. Listen to what he told us.
Well, the goal is to make sure that children are protected and to make sure that adults even know what they're getting, because we're not sure about the quantities or about what exactly is in some of these products. So that's been the concern all along. And so the legislature passed a ban to address that. The governor looked at that and he pointed out in his veto message that Arkansas 2 years ago passed a ban and theirs is still tied up in court. So I think the goal is to find a way to deal with this that's going to go into effect, not be tied up in court. And so we don't have a lot of details yet, but the governor's called us back for a special session and we're going to get this right. You look at the packaging of many of these products, look at the names, and there's no question that they're aimed toward children. Look at the location of the stores, and so many of the stores around the state are clustered around schools. So that's a problem. We want to make sure that children are being protected. You understand this, of course, when we're minors, our brains are developing, our bodies are still developing, and so these products are very dangerous for minors. I think everybody agrees on that. So what's the best way to protect minors and also for adults? Make sure that when you buy a product, you know what you're buying, and make sure it's something that you can trust about the quantity and also about the potency. So those are important, and also the locations of the stores. And so the legislature passed a ban to address that. The governor's vetoed that and called us back. So we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done right, whatever that takes. The legislature passed a ban on these products because they're dangerous. You know, when the Congress in 2018 with the hemp bill legalized industrial hemp for agricultural uses, no one intended for these products to be available like they are today. And today, let me be clear, under current law today, because of federal law, children can buy these products. Now, some of the stores keep children out. Some of the stores limit children's access, but some don't. And so it's a real problem. And so I think Governor Patrick's position is we have to have a strong solution. And when it comes to THC products, again, our number one goal is to protect children, make sure children aren't getting access to these products. There's a lot of ways to do that. And also for adults to make sure that they know what they're getting. The cleanest way to do that the legislature took the approach in the regular session was a ban. And so I think we're going to look at all the options and find the best way to protect children and to protect the public. That's really what this is about. You know, at the same time we did this last session, we also expanded the compassionate use program. You'll recall that's Texas medical marijuana program, because we heard from veterans and others whose doctors say that marijuana is helpful for certain conditions. And in many ways, it's what doctors say their patients need. So we expanded that program to make sure that folks who need this for medical reasons have access to it. But at the same time, we have to make sure children are protected. So that's the balance we're going to try and strike, and we'll get it done. July 21st is when the governor calls us back for a special session. The THC ban is being considered, also some criminal justice reform, making sure the court system is working like it's supposed to work, protecting people. That's going to be as well. And between now and July 21st, the governor may decide to add additional topics. And even after the session starts, the governor can add topics. That has often happened in the past. So we'll be ready. There's always going to be work for us to do.
When we return, more on Senate Bill 3. We hear from one East Texas state representative who believes a veto from the governor was the right thing to do. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. While most of the Senate was in favor of Senate Bill 3, lawmakers in the House had their own reservations on a total ban on THC products and the effects it would have on both consumers and businesses. Our Assistant News Director David Jimenez spoke to Representative Jay Dean of Longview, who tells us he was glad Senate Bill 3 was vetoed.
It's an $8.5 billion a year business, for one thing. Second thing, there's probably 60,000 people employed in that industry. The governor received about 160,000 letters from veterans that utilize some of those products for PTSD, et cetera. I have residents in Longview, kids with serious epilepsy that before 2019 were having to go to Oklahoma, et cetera, to get that type of CBD oil to help their children. And, you know, let me just say this. My point is we had an agreement with the Senate, in my opinion, that, you know, we get sort of torn up that, oh, y'all didn't pass too many bills because you ran out of time. So we did I think the speaker did a really good job this session of moving bills out. In the case of this particular bill, an amendment came in to totally ban. We voted to go ahead and take that bill with that amendment, send it to the Senate, because typically what happens is the House and the Senate appoint a conference committee. And the conference committee would go in there and fix the bill and strip that amendment out and get closer to what we passed. The House passed exactly what the governor said in his statement. It's a regulatory bill. We need to regulate these types of businesses, which we didn't do in 19. We need to put an age limit on when you can actually purchase these products. And the most critical thing is we don't know what's coming from China in some of these vapes. So we need to have a process of, in the regulatory process, we have to have the ability to determine what products are in there. I mean, we heard testimony of children dying because they got hold of a bad product somewhere. And, you know, so we have to rate. We're not saying you ban it because too many people depend on it. It has some advantages medically to a lot of these people. We just need to have better regulatory processes in place. And that's what I'm really hoping we can get our senators to sort of get away from, you know, the leadership in terms of a total ban. And let's do the right thing for the people that depend on some of these products.
What parts, you know, think of the current version? Do you think the version that passed right now, what parts do you think it got right? And what do you think deserves that second look at that you guys are getting?
Well, you know, really and truly, the overwhelming sentiment, it doesn't matter what they got right. What they got wrong was a total ban. So, you know, we need to start with the House bill that we sent them, and we need to look at how we may be able to alter that bill, but we can't take their bill with a total ban. That's just that's a non-starter for the House and for the governor's office. So we'll see if the Senate will stand up, the members of the Senate will stand up to their leadership and say, hey, we can't do that because they're hearing from people at home. I will assure you that.
You heard from veterans, you heard from some people, from some families there. You also mentioned the impact it has on the economy, on business. Have you heard from businesses in your district about it?
I've heard more from parents of children. I've heard more from veterans, and I knew that I would. And the point is, the intention of our vote to move the bill was to bring the bill to conference committee to fix the bill and to remove the total ban amendment that was put on there. So that's the main message is, listen, we're going to fix this. I knew it all along, but we've got to get the Senate, members of the Senate to stand up with the House, with the governor and say, hey, we've got to get this right, and we will.
And you mentioned in your statement yesterday also about regulation, and you've been talking about the regulation, which is, like you mentioned, kind of what the governor is calling for this time. The lieutenant governor yesterday said that he wasn't ceding any ground and that a total ban was the only way that he would accept the bill. Will you talk to me a little bit about why you believe regulation is possible, and maybe if you guys had talks about what that may look like?
Yes, we have, but listen, you have regulatory processes for beer and wine and alcohol. It's something that the state of Texas does for many, many, many products, and we can do the same here. I mean, you can't say, like in Tyler, I was there yesterday, and there's these vape shops going in everywhere. What is the licensing process? How do you get a license to have a vape shop? What does the license say that you can stock and sell in a vape shop? What types of products? And again, being able to make sure that the products that are being sold are not seriously harmful to our citizens, public safety, that's our number one job. So the regulatory process has to make sure that those shops, those businesses providing safe, quality products to the citizens of Texas.
I wish we had a crystal ball to tell us what was going to happen in the future, and we can't do that now. From what it seems like right now, there are two very distinct sides of what they believe this Senate Bill 3 should look like. When you guys head back to Austin in July, do you think that there will be some kind of compromise, or that you guys can reach some kind of compromise on this?
Well, I think there'll be, some coming to the table. And, like I said, between now and the 21st, I guarantee you that the senators are hearing from their constituency about supporting or not supporting SB 3 in its current form. So I ask citizens, hey, keep reaching out to your elected officials, let them know. But I want to make clear what the House version, the bill was, and why it was a good bill, and where the Senate leadership got off into total ban. I don't know. There's various things that drive leadership to make certain decisions, and I'm not exactly sure what all that is. I think we had one of the best sessions between the Senate and the House since I've been here for 5 sessions. Lieutenant Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor, did a great job of working with our speaker on so much: school funding, property tax relief, and election integrity, judiciary reform, so many good things. So I don't want to see this one issue, give us a bad look to the citizens of Texas. And look, we'll figure this out and we'll get it right.
Also heard from State Representative Daniel Alders of Tyler on the governor's decisions to veto the THC ban and call for a special session. Alder says, I supported the full ban of Senate Bill 3, coupled with the broad expansion of the Texas Compassionate Use Program. But I understand Governor Abbott's legal concerns about the bill and his veto of it, adding, "I applaud the governor for his plan to call a special session and look forward to working with my colleagues to craft more effective policy that will withstand challenges in court so that we can get this issue under control as soon as possible." When we spoke with State Representative Jay Dean, he told us that he's pushing to add a bill to the upcoming special session that would eliminate the STAR test. Legislative efforts to replace or abolish the annual test failed during the regular session. House Bill 4, which proposed shorter, more frequent tests and focus on student growth, passed the House but did not make it to the governor's desk. Dean, who represents Gregg, Harrison, and Marion counties, says he spoke with the governor's office Tuesday morning about bringing back the bill to kill the STAR test once and for all.
This STAR test has been an abysmal failure. When you look at our scores, what has it done for our reading, math, science scores? The state of Texas, the 8th largest economy in the world, we still rank in the bottom third in our testing scores. That's absolutely unacceptable. So STAR hadn't done anything to help that.
Again, only the governor has the authority to set the special session agenda and is limited to those topics he chooses. The special session is set to begin July 21st. As of now, House Bill 4 is not part of the governor's initial priorities. Before our break, the Texas Legislature passed 17 constitutional amendments during the initial regular session, the most since 2003. They include raising the homestead exemption, providing $20 billion for the water fund, and giving judges the right to deny bail for people accused of violent crimes. Those amendments cannot become law without a majority of support from Texas voters. Earlier this week, the Secretary of State randomly assigned each amendment with a proposition number by drawing them out of a bucket. Texans will vote on the 17 propositions in the November 4th election. Coming up after the break, final thoughts. We'll be right back. While the agenda special session is set for now, the governor can make adjustments until day one. According to reports, the governor has faced pressure from President Donald Trump to ask lawmakers to redraw some of Texas's 38 U.S. House districts ahead of the 2026 midterms. As of now, that request was not on the list released Monday. The state constitution only allows lawmakers to pass bills during special sessions on issues selected by the governor. Anything can change until July 21st, and we will, of course, keep you updated. Well, that's all for tonight. Next week, we will zero in on more issues on East Texas in Focus. Have a great night, everyone.